A woman will never love you, and you will never be happy if you marry a woman for these 5 reasons. The first one, because she's good in bed. This girl, because of how good she is in bed, how she sucks you, how she rides you, how she touches your nipples and all those things, how she gives it to you hot in the bedroom. Now, because you are so infatuated with the way she gives it to you, you now decide to marry her. Even when this same woman has a nasty character, where she doesn't have manners, she can't even cook, she can't even take care of you, who is a man. But because of how good she is in bed, you foolishly went ahead and married her. After a while, especially in marriages, the intimacy will not even be interesting anymore. Because when children starts coming, when responsibilities starts overtaking your mind, you will start losing interest. It always happens in the intimacy, and you start growing distant from each other. At this point, how good she is in bed can no longer sustain that marriage. At this point, how good she is in bed, how she sucks you, will no longer be important again. It will come to a point where you will be avoiding your woman, because the only thing that this woman knows how to do is how to be good in bed. Aside that, she has nothing else she can offer a man. Even intelligence, she can't offer you. Even smart advices, she can't give you. All she knows is how to stress you, how to pressure you for money, how to pressure you for luxury, for this and that. You will come to a point where you'll be running away from your own house because you married a woman who was not good for you, simply because she was good in bed. As long as you make this mistake, and trust me when I say many men have made this mistake and are still making this mistake today, marrying women simply because they are good in bed, simply because they can ride them very well. That's why you're marrying a woman. I pity you. So if you end up making this mistake, this woman will never love you, because at a point you start mistreating her because she's not being valuable to you. So you must mistreat her at some point. You start becoming emotionally unavailable to her. You will stop communicating with your woman because this girl can't even give you any other thing aside the bedroom activities. And she'll stop liking you, she will not love you, and you will not be happy. So it's a lose-lose situation. So don't get yourself involved with a woman simply because she's good in bed. It doesn't end well. The second one is when you marry a woman simply because she had a child for you. So this girl, you've been dating her, or both of you guys have been having some situationship. Now, she gave birth to you, she got pregnant and gave birth for you. And all of a sudden, she's now pressuring you to marry her. Her people, her parents, her dad, her family members are pressuring you to marry her. And you go ahead and marry a woman simply because she has a child for you. If the reason why you are marrying a woman is just because of a child, then that is not a good enough reason. Before you marry a woman, whether she has a child for you or not, you must put into consideration so many other things. The most important thing to look at for when you are marrying a woman is her level of character. If the woman you want to marry doesn't have character, but she has a child for you, and you are marrying her because of the child, you will suffer. You can never be happy in that marriage. There are so many things to look at, but the most important is always character. If that woman has a child for you, but she doesn't have character, don't make the mistake of marrying her. You can take care of the child, but don't make the horrible mistake of marrying that woman. Because in the end, you tell yourself, had I known. Why would you want to spend the rest of your life living with a woman who doesn't respect you? Living with a woman who doesn't treat you well? Living with a woman who doesn't see you as someone to submit to? Simply because she had a child for you. The best thing you can do at this point is take care of the child. But if you know that you cannot marry a woman aside the reason of her having a child for you, don't marry her. Because if that woman was not treating you well before you married her, if you marry her, she'll become worse. Men always think that, okay, this girl is not behaving well. If I marry her, she'll calm down, she'll cool down, and she'll start behaving well. It only gets worse because at this point, she's no longer looking for anything from you because you've given her the highest honor any man can give to a woman, which is marriage. So at this point, she has nothing else to, behave well for. Before a girl marries you or before you marry a girl, the girl will be behaving well. So you can finally marry her. You can give her that ring. She's working hard to make you marry her. But if a girl was not treating you well, and you think that if you marry her, she'll start treating you well, she'll get worse. Because at this point, she's no longer looking for anything else from you because you've already married her. Unlike when they have not been married, they are working hard to get you to marry them. So when you marry them, it will only get worse. The third one is when you marry a woman out of pity. Probably you've been dating this girl for some years, and deep down, you know that this woman is not who you want to marry as a wife. You know that this woman is not what you need as a wife. But because of how hot she'll be when you break up with her, or because of how bad she'll feel when you decide to leave her, you now compare yourself to marry her so that you will not break her heart or hurt her. When you marry a woman you don't like, when you marry a woman you don't find attractive, you will never be happy. Because every day you wake up knowing that you made the biggest mistake of your life, marrying a woman you don't love, a woman you don't find attractive, and a woman who doesn't really fit into your ideal woman. When you want to marry a woman, better calm down and ask yourself questions. Don't just marry a girl because you are pitying her or because you are afraid that you hurt her. In the long run, you will regret that decision, and you pay the price by being unhappy, by being sad, and by being unfulfilled in your marriage. So many men are unhappy in their marriages, and they have no choice but to remain in it because there are children and there is society too. So when you don't like a girl, don't marry her out of pity. It's better you break her heart so that two of you can rest, can go your separate ways, than when you marry her out of pity and end up not being happy. And when you're not happy in a marriage, you will also make that your partner or that your woman to be unhappy too. So both ways is very bad. So don't make such a mistake by marrying a woman out of pity. The fourth one is do not marry a woman because she's getting old and now pressuring you. For some of you that will go and date women in their 30s, I'm not saying women in their 30s are bad, but for some of you that will go and date those women at those ages, and they'll now be pressuring you for marriage. They'll be telling you things like, I'm getting old, all my mates are married, very soon I'll reach menopause. Why are you delaying? Why are you wasting my time? Because of the pressure, you now go and put a ring on their finger. When you marry a woman simply because she was pressuring you, you really want to suffer. And most likely that marriage will end in divorce. Because there was no other concrete reason that you are marrying this girl except the pressure from her. So when you're pressuring a girl, so when a girl is pressuring you, and you know that you don't want to marry her, it's better you break up with her and let her go than you succumb to that pressure and marry her. A woman who doesn't treat you well, who doesn't cook for you, who doesn't behave well, you simply marry her because she's pressuring you. And the men that usually do this are weak men who are simps. So trust me, don't make such a mistake. The fifth one is you marry a girl simply because she's a virgin. Now, we men, we always want women who have low body counts or who are virgins. But that should not be the only criteria. That should not be the only prerequisite for you to marry a woman. If this woman is a virgin but has a nasty character, then she's useless. Her virginity is useless then. Don't be like Israel, DMW, those age that went and married a girl simply because he saw her in the church and she was a virgin. You all know how the marriage ended. The girl, as soon as Israel married her, she changed. She became a lion that was unbearable for Israel. And before you know it, two of them separated. When you want to marry a girl, don't just look at the virginity. Look at other things too. Her background, her parents, her character, her mentality. Those things should also be important additions to the virginity, not just the virginity alone. Don't marry a girl simply because she's a virgin or simply because you saw her in a church, or simply because she's churchy by nature. Investigate her behavior, investigate her parents, most especially her mother, to avoid making the mistake that most other men have made. So never marry any woman for these 5 reasons. Else, you really want to tell your own sad stories by yourself. I rest my case.